So this past weekend, we had Money in the Bank. Yes, July 1st marked the return of Money in the Bank and the first time in over 20 years that we had a pay-per-view premium live event, whatever you want to call it, in London. It took them this long to go back to London. I don't know why, but it worked. It was amazing. The crowd was into it from start to finish. They were roaring. The sound blitzed through my speakers, and it was just as exciting to watch at home. I had a good time watching Money in the Bank on stream with you guys. That watch party was a lot of fun, and the show overall had a really good pacing. So I just wanted to come on here and give my thoughts, share some of my, my likes and dislikes, if you will. So first things first, let's talk about Mr. Gunther, the Intercontinental Champion, and Matt Riddle. That match, look, we know that Matt Riddle is a talented son of a gun, but we also know that WWE, they don't want to put too much stock into this guy because he's kind of a loose cannon. But, man, his matches are just top-notch. That encounter with Gunther was one that I truly enjoyed, and I just love the crowd interaction. It made it that much better. The Intercontinental title has been put on a pedestal, and they really brought the house down with some nice spots. You know, Riddle going off the turnbuckle or some of Gunther's hard-hitting moves. I thought that it was a good showing for both of them. And, of course, we had Mr. Drew McIntyre make his triumphant return, which I will talk about him in a separate segment. But I really love that Drew came back and now he's in the mix with Gunther. And it just made that much more sense going forward that we have Drew involved with some title. But most importantly, it added layers to that Gunther and Matt Riddle matchup. And then another good matchup worth noting, in my opinion, was definitely Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. They did not disappoint. Oh my goodness. They really, should keep this feud going. But I know they got Damian Priest with Mr. Money in the Bank, which we'll talk about him in a little bit too. But they brought out Damian Priest in that and kind of cost Finn Balor the match, which I thought was really good to book it that way because it made Finn Balor look very strong and it made him a worthy competitor. So all in all, they both performed at a very high level and they did not disappoint. We knew Seth Rollins was going to win, but we didn't know how. And I feel like that finish added layers to the story that's going on. So I thought it was good. I don't know what it is, but this Finn match didn't hit. Damn, MGM. I guess it could have been a little better. You're right. It could have been a little better. But I just thought that, with the crowd's involvement, Damian Priest coming out, it added layers to that whole ordeal. And it made it much more thrilling. The fact that Damian Priest could have cashed in on him. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio. Now, we knew that if Brock Lesnar didn't interfere or Judgment Day didn't get involved, we knew that Cody Rhodes had to take this win. This was just a clean victory for Cody Rhodes, as it should have been. Dominic is too young. He's a rising star. I know that I said this in my predictions video, that this was like the perfect storm because we have the ultimate heel, the ultimate babyface clashing in the ring, and it was just a big party. The crowd was really into it, just like all the other matches, but in this one, the cheers were louder and the boos were even louder. So I thought that was really cool that we got to see a snippet and a teaser of the future champion in Dominic Mysterio and a superstar that's in his prime right now in Cody Rhodes. So that was just a nice little touch to the pay-per-view. But man, let's really talk about this Money in the Bank ladder match for the men, which I thought was just wow. Some really good spots from Logan Paul and Ricochet. Shinsuke did his thing. Butch had a good moment. Escobar as well. LA Knight, I know a lot of people are like, oh, LA Knight didn't get the win. It sucked. They buried him. They did not bury LA Knight. He was a show stealer, with every moment teasing he would be the next Mr. Money in the Bank. And Damian Priest just came out of left field with his victory, which I like being surprised. I like the unexpected when it comes to wrestling. Predicting everything gets boring after a while. So the fact that, you know, Damian Priest has had a good run, Judgment Day will be coming to an end very soon, or hopefully they expand the Judgment Day while this, you know, kind of getting rid of Damian Priest to freshen up the product. Who knows? Maybe that's what they're going for here. But point is, Damian Priest winning Money in the Bank, I thought was a good decision in terms of expect the unexpected, which is what this match is all about. Just Mass says Knight didn't need this win. I think so. I really truly believe that he didn't need this win. I think LA Knight losing might have been better for him. I think it was better for him as well. So that match was just spectacular. And then we can't forget about the other Money in the Bank match, right? We can't forget there's 2 Money in the Bank matches in this pay-per-view. It was the men's and the women. Oh man, filled with good drama and story. At first I was like, they have too many stables, too many parties in here, you know, like Zoe Stark and Trish, Bayley and Io Sky, and then you threw Becky Lynch in there and Selena Vega. They were like the 2 random ones, but I just like that each of them had their feuds going, and it added for much more drama, and it was at a high level. I thought that ultimately it was at a high level. The spots were really well delivered. There wasn't a whole lot of botches, and we know that these matches can have a lot of them, even for the men. But I just thought, you know, it was just the pacing. That's really what I'm gonna keep going back to. The pacing of the overall show and within the matches were just spot on. They hit a grand slam with this one, and you could tell just by the energy of the crowd all night long. You know, sometimes the crowd gets exhausted or tired, especially a 3+ hour event. It was about 4 hours almost it reached. So you're talking about 4 hours, and the crowd was just going hardcore all night long. Damn. That was one hell of a Money in the Bank match for the women. And then the Ronda Rousey encounter there where she got turned on by Shayna Baszler. That was super, super unexpected. Look at Jay flexing 16 months. Let me talk to you. What up, Jay? Thank you for being a member and always coming in here flexing the muscles, man. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. The hype definitely isn't over. Oh, you're talking about AEW Fight Forever. Yeah, we'll get into some AEW talk here shortly. Knight doesn't belong in the mid-card. I agree with the Knight versus Theory idea. That would be cool. Knight had to win. What are you talking about? I mean, everyone has their own opinion. It's okay. We have seen with both Kofi and Sami Zayn as mid-carders in main event slots. Once the story ends, they get lost in the shuffle. That is true. Good way to put it there. That's a good way to put it. But yeah, Ronda Rousey ended up losing her tag team title with Shayna Baszler because Shayna turned on her. I'd like to see where that story is going, but they just put together Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez again. They really don't know what's going on with the women's tag division. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. There's not really much else to talk about there besides the fact that it was surprising and it was a decent match. But up next, last but not least, I'm trying to bulldoze through my thoughts real quick, trying to put this in a 10-minute segment. There's just so much snippets and bits here to go over, and I absolutely loved it. But my goodness, that Bloodline Civil War matchup was just stupendous. This was a movie unraveling right before our eyes. What a showdown between the Tribal Chief himself alongside Solo Sikoa versus the Usos. They really turned it up, man. Oh my goodness. They went all out with this story, and we finally had the moment where Jay became his own man along with Jimmy, and they just brought the house down with their performance. And Solo missing the splash by the announcer's table. It was just so funny and cool and fun and exciting to see that Roman in this entire feud has looked like a god, right? In just about every matchup. And he finally lost clean. He got pinned 1, 2, 3 after the referee had been knocked down earlier. We're like, who's coming out to save Roman this time? Who's getting involved? What the hell is going on? But ultimately, no. It was just a good play into what has happened in other matches, but they expanded on it. And overall, I walk away very, very satisfied from Money in the Bank. An overall exciting show with a phenomenal crowd, good performances, and how can we forget John Cena's surprise return, teasing that WrestleMania may indeed be heading to London in the future, hopefully sooner rather than later. And that would be some crazy stuff. If they end up going over there, I know that the crowd would just stand on their feet all night long and just go even crazier than the usual crowd at WrestleMania. So John Cena having that moment with Grayson Waller also gave him a little rub, and I like how they were very self-aware of the segment and played along with all that. So, man, I'm a happy camper. Money in the Bank, I would go ahead and probably give it like a 9 out of 10. That's my score, a solid 9. Why? Because ultimately, when you look at a pay-per-view like this, you gotta look at the opportunity that it presents for the person that may win the briefcase. We had Io Sky win the women's match. We had Damian Priest win the men's match. And ultimately, what you have here is two superstars in the making who have truly earned their spot at the top of the food chain. Whether they decide to have the, feud with Seth Rollins or go for the Intercontinental or U.S. title for Damian Priest, at the end of the day, this is making him look like $1 million. And then you have Io Sky finally standing up for herself against Bayley, who was turning on them eventually, right? So there's another story there being developed, and it was good. Ronda wasn't great either, but look, man, at the end of the day, even with some of the mishaps that she could have had, whether you like Ronda or don't, it was a good story match. It was titles were changing hands. It was exciting, and that's the overall theme with the show. At the end of the day, Cena could have come out, just talked and walked backstage, or they could have had Ronda just go out and lose, but they added layers and layers of story to each segment, whether it was big or not. So, I like that. It felt like it added rather than take away from the moment. So those are my thoughts for Money in the Bank. If you guys want more wrestling, subscribe to the channel. Drop a like if you haven't already. It helps the video and streams get recommended. And we have more on the way. Let me know how you felt about Money in the Bank. Which match was your favorite? Was it the ladder match? Was it Drew McIntyre returning? Or who knows, the bloodline? I don't know. Let me know down below.